Hi folks, so in this video I want to show you how to use React, the UI library, to create simple components. So this is the first lesson in which I will teach you the basis of React and how you can use it to be very efficient. I've been using React for the last 4 to 5 years and I'm super efficient using React to build all my products and web applications. So let's get started. First of all, let me create an application using React. I will use create React app. These are the comments. You open the terminal and then run npx create React app, my example app. Here we go. I move to the folder and I run npm start. Now we have the React application running locally on localhost 3000. Now we can see that we have a folder structure with the source folder, with an app.js file, an app.test.js file, the index file where our React application is actually mounted. Okay, now let's see how I can create a new component using React. So let's say that I want to create a button component. Okay, as you can see, as soon as I save the file, it is updated on the right on the web page. Now I want to style this a little bit. Just for this example, I will use inline styles. Okay, let's see what GitHub Copilot suggests. Okay, it's not super bad. Just want to use white and color is black. Okay, perfect. And font size 20 pixel. Yes. Margin 20 pixels. All right. Padding top is 6 and on left and right is 16. All right. It looks already good. All right, so this is super simple, but let's say that I want to create a button component and reuse it in different pages of my application. So let's create a new folder called components. Let's create a folder inside called button and a new file inside button.jsx. Here I export a functional React component, which is just a button. Okay. Let me copy the code from here. And here we have our button. Let me use it here. Button. Perfect. Here we go. Let's say that I want to change the label of my button. And I want to use this signature. So button, the text, and then I close the JSX tag markup for the button. As you can see, nothing happens here. If I use click me again, nothing happens because we are not retrieving this information from the button tag. To do that, we need to use the children spatial prop. Here we go. So children is everything contained inside the tags specified for this specific button component. So everything inside this. I could also add, for instance, a link. Okay, I have multiple components. All right, and the link will be rendered inside. So this is very powerful. Now let's see that we want to add a state to this button. So when I click it, we call an HTTP endpoint. And we want to show a loading state for this button. So let's try this. Okay, so this means that we need a loading state for this button. This is a very important concept of React. So the local state of a component. Let's say we want to create a variable called isLoading. Okay, and to define this state, we use something that is now present in React. Okay, no types. So import useState from React. All right, so this useState special function exported by React is called a hook. A hook is a special function provided by React, and this specific hook called useState is used to define state variables. This false value here is the default value of this state when this variable is created, isLoading is the variable containing the state value, and setLoading is the setter. So it is function we need to use when we want to update the state. So let's say that we want to update the state when we click the button, so on click. What we do simply is set loading to true. All right, and when the state is true, we want to change the label inside our button. So let's say that we use the conditional rendering and we say, if it is loading, we show the label, please wait. Otherwise, we show the button. Let's see what happens when I click the button. So with the onClick handler, I update the isLoading state variable to the value true, and the label should change. This is exactly what happens. All right, so now we have a local state. Let me refresh the page. And now the component starts with the initial state that I defined in the component. So again, I click. Now isLoading is true. I refresh the page. Now isLoading is false, is the initial state. So this is very important. The state is not persisted on the page. When I refresh the page, this local state is reset to the initial values. All right, now let's do something different. So when we click on the button, we make an HTTP request to an endpoint. So, okay, let's call it handClick. And let's use it here. Okay. Okay, let's do something different. So we do a fake request. Which is just a set timeout of a second. Okay, we returned a promise, exactly. And after 1 second, we called resolve. Okay, it's not important that you completely master this, it's just to show you the delay. All right, now when I click on send request, please wait, and after a second, the loading variable is set to false again. Okay. Okay. Very cool. Let's say that we want to use a different method here. So I want to show you another hook, basically. There are 3 main hooks that you need to master really to use React. One is useState. The second one is useEffect. And the third one is useRef. Let's see useEffect now. Okay, useEffect is a hook whose callback, so the function defined as the first argument, is invoked. When is it invoked? It depends. The second argument of the useEffect is called the dependency array. An empty dependency array means that this callback is called as soon as the component is mounted, exactly. So in this case, is ran only once when a component is rendered. So let me show you the console. If I refresh the page, here we have button component mounted. If I add a variable like isLoading, this callback will be called initially when the component is rendered, but also when the isLoading variable value changes. So for instance, when I click on the button, so let's also to log isLoading. All right, refresh the page. Initial mounting isLoading is false. I click on the button, isLoading is true. Request completed. isLoading is changed to false. And again, this callback is called. So this is very simple, but also very powerful to use. The third hook that you need to know is called useRef. This is very interesting. So useRef, it's a way to create mutable variables that you can actually mutate and change the value whenever you want, and change this value will not trigger a new render of the component. So this is the main difference between useState and useRef. With useState, when you use the set loading, you update the state of the local state of your component, and changing the state of the local component triggers a new render of the component. useRef instead, you create a variable, okay, like this one, okay. And when you mutate it, the component is not triggered again. So let's say, for instance, that I want to change the value of this ref variable. So for instance, the initial value of this ref variable is initial. Okay, so I created this mutable variable ref, and I want to log it. Okay. So the initial value is initial, of course. When I click on the button, instead of doing this, I update the value of ref current. So instead of initial, I call it updated. Okay, and just move this up. All right. Now I want to render this value inside our button. Okay, so the value is initial. When I click the button with the handle click and handler, I change the value of this ref variable from initial to updated. Let me do it. Okay, in clicking it, nothing happens. The reason is that, as I said, when you mutate a ref variable, React doesn't trigger a new render of the component. So let me show you that the ref variable is actually updated. So let me add a console log here. So when I click on the button, I update the value and I also log it. I refresh the page, I click on the button, ref current value is now updated. I hope this was helpful. This is the first lesson to teach you how to build from scratch a web application. And see you next time. Bye.